So we're in to do the newspapers. Good morning, Kwejo. How are you?
Good morning to you.
How was your holiday?
Well. It was fantastic.
Where did you go?
Well, all over the place, including Cape Coast.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that you were
I
there.
did, yes.
Yeah.
And we also had a bit of a team thing somewhere in Accra.
Okay.
The
You
Joy
had some
brand was spending some time amongst ourselves. It was fantastic.
Okay.
Great time indeed.
Yeah. When you mentioned team, I thought maybe you're part of a football team that got stuck somewhere. You know, players are getting stuck at places. So
considering my football skills, I'll also need a diver to rescue me.
I see. You're not good at the game.
No.
Okay. Which game do you particularly like?
Oh, I like them all. You're asking me which one I play? That's a different question.
Okay.
You're asking all the questions. How was your holiday?
I was okay. I was at work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Whole time?
No day off for you.
Yeah, most of the time.
Hey,
I left here at 3.
Really? For real?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That would be like a
Had
first.
to help her do
Let's
something.
do the newspapers now. We'll start off. I have the Ghanaian Times, so let's begin with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Front page of the Times, combating incidences of corruption in public office. Shraj pushes for new law. That story is on page 17. And it says the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice is advocating the passage of the Public Office Code of Conduct Bill into law to reduce incidences of corruption in the public service. So the bill was last tabled before Cabinet back in 2014 and was to give legal backing to the Code of Conduct for Public Officers of Ghana and guidelines on conflict of interests. It was launched in December 2006, but really, it's remained where it started. According to Shraj, the lack of political will by successive government to pass the bill into law gave room for public office holders to siphon the states, mostly without, I guess, money, mostly without having to face the full rigors of the law. So the push really is to make this code of conduct, give it a legal backing, turn it into a law so we can begin to hold some people accountable. So that's really amongst other things that the Shraj boss said. He was speaking at this year's Public Service Day celebrations in Accra on Friday. He's called on President Akufo-Addo and the Chief Executive of the Public Services to put the bill before Parliament for passage into law if Ghana is to win the fight against corruption. And that's a quote that was, so we'll see. Following his call, this really will be pushed. We'll see this pass into law. There's also another story, center spread of the paper, but let's go back to the front page so I can share all the headlines on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Creation of SP's office paves way for state to go after corrupt officials, according to President Akufo-Addo. Government reviews report on police sexual misconduct in South Sudan. I'm sure you remember this story very well. About 46 police officers were sent to South Sudan on a peacekeeping mission. We would only hear later on that they had been involved allegedly in some sexual misconducts. Subsequently isolated, and then sometime in June they were brought back home. So the details of the story is that the Interior Minister has forwarded the report to the presidency, and so we will be hearing from the presidency. They will issue a white paper giving directions as to what should happen to the police officers involved in this matter. Also, NTCE directed to review stance on grades D7 and E8. That story is on page 13 in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. A bit of that for you here. And it says the Ministry of Education has directed the National Council for Tertiary Education to review its stance on D7 and E8 and submit a report about the possibility of getting students with such grades admitted into the university. Professor Kwesi Yanka, Minister of State in charge of tertiary education, who disclosed this, bemoaned that many students could not pursue their academic ambitions and had become street hawkers due to the stance on credit passes in mathematics and science. And if you read on, he explains that sometimes some students would get the pass. They don't really need mathematics and science with the subject that they want to subsequently go ahead and study.
And,
but because of this, they cannot move on. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
So,
but it's something that our society doesn't do well to pursue, because we don't tend to perhaps explore and exploit the talents, or even identify them in the first place, to harness them, to see, well, this man is good at this, either on the practical side or even on the academic side. And even on the academic side, this young boy or girl is good at this, and so should be given this opportunity to pursue this, so that that person will be beneficial to the country or the society better. It's just ingrained in us.
I sometimes get the impression, generally, and it's a bit of a generalization, that parents don't quite focus on talents when it comes to children. They rather want to concentrate on hard work. You know, they want to encourage children to work hard, go into professions that are technical in nature, be a doctor, be a lawyer, you know, be an engineer, be an accountant, work hard. You know, they tend, when it comes to talent, they don't quite consider things like artistic talent or even sporting talent. Very often parents will tell their children...
In our society.
Yes,
in our society.
As in the school system also made it possible. I mean, there's no room for a lot of the other things. Everything is book.
It's as if that if the
parents,
it's as if the parent wants to concentrate on the talent and the artistic part, then it means that there is that fear or trepidation of having your child left behind, and because there's no time for you to exploit or explore this or develop.
The system doesn't take them along, if you will. So you're absolutely right about that. There doesn't seem to be space in how we designed our educational system.
True. For example, you take music. To write music, if you don't have the talent, you can't do that. To even learn music, if you don't have the talent, you can't do that. But our society doesn't. And you have to drop out of school and do schooling later, and the society just thinks.
But there are some parents who are forcing, by the way, they get their children to join football clubs. You find parents taking their children, like on Saturdays and Sundays, to go and do other things apart from the normal school structure and what they learn. But I agree.
But just few
we're not
few of you people.
And it's almost like a privileged thing to do. Because
which
there are not many of you have to get your child like a private music teacher. Or go to
that kind of thing.
That kind of thing. We don't have a lot of that.
True.
But creativity is the way to go.
It's sad.
Every especially in the past, let's say the past 3 decades, every society that has emerged from poverty into dominance, China, the other Asian,
they focus on the talent.
Yeah. That has been the key. And I wonder how much of it we need to see before we start to understand that this is the way we must also go.
I hope this call by the Minister of States would not end here, as in a report, but we would see something being done. Because maths and science, you must pass. If you get the pass mark, I think is good. You don't necessarily have to make a certain grade before you move on, if you're not using maths and science necessarily in where you're going to
planning
study.
to become a mathematical scientist.
Or an engineer or something of the sort. Because those are periods.
I admire the young kids who are taking part in the National Science Maths Quiz, but it's not for all of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus, there are a whole bunch of kids who went #1 in maths and science, who are making the National Science and Maths Quiz come to life for the rest of the country.
True.
You know, there are
True.
set designers and camera technicians and directors and sound technicians, people who have applied their talent to a career, which is now bringing us the amazing science and maths quiz every day on our TV screen. So I think we need to keep sight of the wonderful talents that exist.
Okay, let's do some more papers.
Okay, shall we do Daily Guide?
Yeah.
All right then. So Anas clears Edupoku. Probe pastors, prophet begs Anas. Mahama boy wild over $12 million EC bribe, and that's a headline, banner headline in the Daily Guide. Government fates senior citizens, Dr. Bamia at this event, and Charlotte says bad contracts, in quotes, exposed. I wonder where to begin. Mahama boy wild, does that sound like a good place to start? Okay, so the wild allegations making rounds that a former Deputy Minister of Communications under the previous Mahama-led National Democratic Congress, NDC, administration collected $12 million for the Electoral Commission, but pocketed half of the amount, do not appear to go away. Felix Kwachiofosu is the former Deputy Minister who has been named in this tape that is making the rounds. But it's an interesting accusation made by the former commissioner on the tape. I don't know if you've listened to it, but it's interesting. So,
is it a leaked tape?
Well, yes, it appears to have leaked from somewhere, because this is a secret recording that was done, which is something that journalists often do.
Is there a journalist?
Yes, a journalist here at Multimedia.
Oh, okay.
Journalists often do that to help them with their notes and so forth later. They don't do it with the aim of releasing it to the public, but it's.
But let's clarify that when this journalist did this recording, he wasn't here at Multimedia.
That's
he wasn't
true.
a staff here.
Yes, yes.
So.
Okay. Yeah. However, it's something that journalists do on many occasions, and we never see them coming out. They are used for their private work, to write their notes and so forth, but we never hear them in the public. This one has ended up in the public.
Okay, as in it leaked.
Yes, that's correct.
But this was also used at the committee.
Yes, so it may very easily have leaked from the
Chief
committee.
Justice's committee.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's a quasi-public tape.
Ah, Roland.
No, the committee's hearings were all in camera. They were all private. So still, it was not a public tape.
Who leaked it?
Not even quasi.
Who leaked it to the public?
Quasi-judicial leak.
I don't know, but it could easily have come from someone connected to the commission, to the committee. Yeah. So, well, anyway, that's not the key issue. The key issue is what is said, in this audio tape, and the accusations, the reasons why, according to this particular former commissioner, the reasons why they decided that a petition must be sent to the president to have Charlotte Osei removed. So it kind of paints the picture of a conspiracy, that it was planned in advance, that these commissioners knew there was going to be a petition, and the basis upon which they were expecting Charlotte Osei to be removed would be on the grounds of...
based on the content of the tape?
Yes, would be on the grounds of procurement malpractices.
I see.
And to see that pan out exactly as they described is interesting, especially bearing in mind the petition accused Charlotte Osei of many other things, but it was the malpractices, just as the lady said in the tape. It was the malpractices that were used as the reason for recommending her impeachment. But here's the best part. The personal
best part
feelings,
of the tape.
well, for me, the personal feelings of this particular commissioner, and by her testimony, others, about Charlotte Osei seems to have been the main fuel behind this decision to petition the president. And that feeling is born of some disappointment or, anger, that some money that they believe was sent to the commission by the NDC government was shared by Charlotte Osei and Felix Kwachiofosu, allegedly.
All this by the tape.
This is all in the tape.
Did they mention Felix Kwachiofosu?
Yes. Mention his name.
I see.
So this is the fascinating sort of spark.
Very fascinating.
Yes, that caused the acrimony and the hatred
Who
of
was the EC
Charlotte
official
Osei,
on the
according
tape?
to this official. Let me get the name for you. She's now retired. I want to say Patricia, but I'd rather just look it up and tell you the actual name. But it's interesting. $12 million is what they claim was shared by the two. Can you imagine $12 million in cash? Do you know how many bags that would fill?
Wow, cash.
Yes. Cash.
2016.
Yes.
All by the tape.
Yes, according to
Why
this
was
tape.
I not there?
Oh, that's what you're... Pauline Dajawa. Pauline is her
Dazawa?
name. Dajawa is the way it's spelled here. I don't know if it's Dazawa in pronunciation, but Pauline Adobia Dajawa. So can you imagine $12 million? How would they have transported it? How many bags would it have filled? where would they have gone to share this money? Or was it by some wire transfer? I mean, you know.
Maybe they will use a bullion van.
I wonder. But fascinating stuff there. Also, Charlotte.
But nobody's saying this tape is authentic, is it? And,
well,
it's more like a speculation by whoever, Polly.
Yes, I mean there was no proof provided
Yeah.
in the when you are listening to the tape, you don't hear any proof of this. Even she admits that this is what they were told or this is what they heard. Okay. You know, so none of this is.
So the personality is also spreading hearsay.
Which personality?
Pauline.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
right.
Okay. Right, Charlotte says bad contracts exposed, and this story kind of goes into a bit more detail about the specific reasons that the committee gave for recommending the removal of Charlotte say. Now, they say it turned out the contracts duly procured under the signature of Mrs. Opoku-Amankwah with STL Ghana that compelled Mrs. Osei to abrogate unilaterally were worth a total of $41 million. Okay, so Georgina Amankwah had issued a contract, $41 million. Charlotte Osei had it cancelled, issued a new contract, same company, but this time 22 million.
Less.
Yes,
Less.
so 19 million.
Well, so then she
less.
saved the commission some money.
Well, that would be a conclusion we can
I'll
draw.
my interpretation.
However, she's been removed from office because that money saving, if you will, contract that she drew did not go through the proper procurement procedures. She has therefore been labeled by the committee as having misbehaved and as being incompetent. Yeah.
Wow. You're done?
I am.
Is there anything? Okay, nothing at the center spread, I believe. So let's go to the Daily Graphic. It has on a front page, corruption must be fought with new measures. Akufo-Addo tells African leaders. And we have that story, reviewing policy on varsity admission requirement. Education Ministry directs the National Council for Tertiary Education. So the main story that showed perhaps warrant some concern from all of us is bird flu hitting Ghana. Over 11,000 birds killed. And, you know, while bird flu is always lurking at our borders, we're always inundated with floods, issues of perceived corruption, etc. We tend to forget that some of these things could always affect us just because they're always found in things edible. And there's always also a rising concern currently about some virus that has been recorded in Asia from tilapia, and because of the chemicals that are used in the feeds that are used to feed these bred tilapia. It's a concern that we're also glossing over, and I know that will come back to hit us one of these days. But the story reads that apparently there's been an outbreak of bird flu reported in Ghana. It says it's leading to the killing of some 11,800 birds already. The affected farms have been quarantined, we're told. You have a picture there of Dr. Bashiru Boyki Kumoto, was in the studio, but I think not on air, has been in the studio a couple of times. You have to call him sometime to get latest updates on this. He's assuring of safety, but I don't know how we can be safe if we love, we always should consume the local chicken, the poultry.
Fiakoko. Well, here's something that I've got to say is causing me a bit of concern. It's in this story about the bird flu.
Yeah.
So first of all, there are two different strands that have been found. There's the very quick spreading one, the H5N1, that was found in Kumasi and in the eastern region. So, sorry, the Ashanti region and the eastern region. Okay, it's quite a space between the two. So you have to ask yourself, if it's the same strain, how did it travel, and are there other pockets of it that we are yet to discover? Most importantly, though, they found another strain in Tema, which is a slower spreading one, which has so far killed less than 500 birds. And this is in Tema.
The H2N3, they say.
That's right. Now, they are yet to confirm that from the testing. They need to send it to an international testing site to confirm a few things about it.
What is that Noguchi?
Well, they'll test at Noguchi to confirm it's bird flu.
But then confirm somewhere else.
You need to learn more about it. You need to find the palindromic sequence of the DNA of,
what
the,
is
of
palindrome?
the virus. Okay, so a palindrome is a sort of a sequence that doubles
this is like a lecture
upon itself. Okay. Yes, a
palindrome
DNA sequence that doubles back upon itself. That is what
you
allows.
mean it mutates or something?
No. Yes. So if you take one strand of DNA and the two ends are identical, that means that this DNA can double back upon
itself. Did you participate in Science and Maths quiz?
No, I didn't. And they call it a double helix. Okay. So essentially, what it means is that the nucleic acid in your DNA has a sequence that can double back upon itself. And they need to understand that in order to identify how this virus is latching on to its host and how they can kill it. Okay, so that's what they are going to test, get that further detail, which they will then use
looking at our poor management of epidemics and crises, especially when it comes to agriculture, I don't know whether we're safe. Because you know this, we've been so silent on this for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
H1N1, bird flu, H2 and 3 have been around, and they're common in Asia, but they have a way of trying to
deal with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. And just recently we had army worm. We spent lots of money. Still, it's around. We're keeping quiet over it, but it's devastating farms, and those should be a concern for.
Indeed. And so I suppose it's not just about our viral controls, but it's just about our control of populations of either animals, plants, or even humans.
Yeah.
You know, I think we are the luckiest people in the world that Ebola didn't find its way into Ghana when it was making the rounds of West Africa in 2014. We are the luckiest people in the world because our preparation, our monitoring, our contact tracing, our surveillance is all extremely untested.
You mean poor?
Well, I want to say untested. I don't want to cause fear and panic. Because if we were testing it, if we were running drills, if we were doing research, if we were learning and adapting, we would have a lot less to worry about. If the United States have set up protocols because of a disease that spread out in Africa, then those of us in Africa,
we have Kolebu.
You need money. You need money.
When there's no bed, they'll treat you on the
for a lot of these things, it's not money you need.
For research?
No, structures. Preparation.
A global drug company wanted to come and test vaccines for Ebola in Ghana. What did our parliament say?
Yeah, but
what did our representatives say?
But the point is that you can't also just sit there and allow somebody to come and test because because they have got
but also history.
Who was sitting there?
History is repleted with these testings, and you can find the black community in Tuskegee in the United States in which they tried to test them with some tuberculosis vaccines, which really went bad for the population out there. The United States health officials kept mute. Even the CIA kept mute about it. So history is repleted.
Okay.
You go to the DRC, there have been some of these testing activities that have gone bad.
These are some of the...
So I think that in that regard, we'll go with our parliamentarians.
These are some of the things that were said in Parliament. Other things that were said in Parliament include...
What's that? We don't have our own agencies. Tobinco, for example. Develop their own vaccine. That's easier for us to appreciate.
And test it on white people.
Come and test it on now. We know it's our own.
Abrafon
was the one we don't know whether
that's correct. So 50 minutes up to 6.
But that's a story, please. Our time is up.
Hang on, let's
There's a special feature. We'll clarify this.
No, don't do that.
You are causing fear and panic.
The thing is affecting black people. You want them to go and test it on white people.
Okay. Can I come through with a finder?
Go on.
Okay.
You want to talk about marriage?
No, because it's a special fee. I don't know why it should have appeared in the holiday edition. But it says that, quickly, we're not going to comment on this. Cecilia Namawumu also, I hope that's her name, says that she did a survey, and apparently expenditure on marriage is between 24,000, 40,000 to 40,000. That's for just the average wedding. If you wanted more, you can go 100,000, etc. And
for one day.
Engagements, and we do 2 marriages.
Actually, we do
it's
all still one day, usually.
You do the engagements.
Yes.
The traditional one, and then
traditional
you do the
marriage.
wedding.
Then you do the ordinance. The ordinance one, you sign at the church.
If you're not married twice, you're not married,
it's
right?
3 marriages. Really.
3. Then
we do traditional, we do the church,
and then the ordinance.
Only that within the church, you sign the ordinance.
So why can't we do that traditionally in church?
It's a choice. It's a choice. It's not everybody. Not everybody would do.
Actually, reading this was a choice.
Would do it.
Reading this.
Okay, so let's do the final. This is also a choice. Find that newspaper. It doesn't always end up in divorce.
I think they're fantastic.
It doesn't always end up in divorce. There are people who simply go to the courts to go and sign. There are people who go to AMA every day. You find people there going to sign. There are those who choose to do the church, do the engagement.
It's a choice.
There are those who choose to go to the bank and go and borrow money and do it. Whichever way.
50% of the
Let's
time.
do the final newspaper.
Mama, did you do banking? Which did you do?
Front page of the final newspaper. Pressure mounts on presidents. He's inundated with proposals on how to appoint EC chair and deputies. And people say, well, when he was in opposition and there was a vacancy, he had
strong
some
thoughts.
things to say.
Yes.
And there are people in his government who also made certain proposals. So here you are.
Broader
it is your turn
consultation.
now.
Remember that?
Let civil society give you names so you can select from. We'll see how that goes.
I think we want a man of God to be the EC chair.
Whatever. We're all men of God right here. Still on the front page of the final newspaper. Wasi grades D7 and E8 under review, according to Professor Yanka. Prosecutor demands retraction and apology from Ken Ejepon. That story is on page 20 in the final newspaper. Bird flu outbreak hits Ashanti and eastern regions. And then this is the story that I thought we'll spend a bit of time and get a man who's been making some revelations speak through it. Efforts to save Emisa Arthur's life revealed. It's quite detailed. It's on page 11, final newspaper. It says it has emerged that former Vice President Kwesi Bekwing Emisa Arthur was transported to the 37 military hospital in the back seats of a brand new double-cabin military pickup truck in an attempt to save his life, since it was an emergency situation. And according to a source that was at the Air Force Gymnasium when Emisa Arthur collapsed, a medical doctor who was training alongside the former vice president immediately commenced CPR. And the source explained that a senior military officer at the gym recommended that since it was early in the morning, they should rush him to the hospital instead of waiting for an ambulance to arrive. So within minutes, the story says, they were at the 37 military hospital where medical staff took over. And this is the source revealing to the paper. But Ochehene Amwetia Ofori Penying, the second paramount chief of the Achim Abuakwa Traditional Council, has been sharing a few things, and I thought we'll play that back to you.
And the head of state tournament and met with the Santini, we were still talking about this event. But something happened. Dawn on Friday, as I usually do, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning when my alarm went off. Went to my usual place where I exercise. At the Air Force Mess. And the effort to just go and work out. As it's been the 14 years, every time I go there, I make my friend. And Miss Arthur. And we talk, we shake hands. And each and all go to their different machines. We talk about Stairmaster. Those of you who work hard and those of you who are true gymnasts who understand the Stairmaster is the most difficult machine in the gym. He was doing his, and I was doing mine. He gets on for 25 minutes, and I'm on for maybe 25 or 30. He finishes first, and he proceeds to the cross-trainer machine as he does. For 14 years, I've known him in the gym. I have finished my Stairmaster. I'm on the stationary part, sweating profusely, and I heard bang. 3 women in the gym were screaming. I left my machine and went. 10 years I've known him in the gym. I have finished my Stairmaster. I'm on the stationary part, sweating profusely, and I heard bang. 3 women in the gym were screaming. I left my machine and went and here lay my friend, trying to find some air to breathe. We gathered around him and pumped his heart as we could. Yelled out his name. His wife was calling out, Jesus, save him. I just said, call the ambulance. Let's take him to the hospital. There were about 7, 8 of us. And something dawned on me. When we took him out, there was no ambulance, there was no car. We threw the former vice president in the pickup, threw him in the back, and they drove off to 37. At this moment, I went back to the gym and everybody had departed. The place was empty. I just went and got my towel and my phone, called my driver to take me home. Waiting so anxiously on the phone to hear if somebody would call and say, "This is all right." When the call came, and watching the trainer in the gym said, "Osadifo, Anye, Vice President is dead." I thought about this event. I thought about the school he went to. I thought about my friend Sam and Kojo and Sam. All of this has been working hard to put a silent phantom on this name. And I rolled back and remembered why we tried to bring him into life, and saw how helpless all of us were.
The final newspaper is breaking down the things that you heard the Ochihini say in a lot more detail. Is on page 11. You can grab the paper and read some more. That's it for the Finder.
Right then, what have you got?
Daily Dispatch, dismissal of EC gang of 3. Charlotte awarded contract $14 million instead of 7.5. Hamid, president did no wrong in sacking Charlotte Osekwe Kubako. There was no ambulance. We put the Miss Arthur in a pickup. Ochihini reveals. That was basically. And then we have 29 million Ghanaians sharing 55 ambulances. There's an infographics on the back page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. 155 ambulances in Ghana, 55 operational. 100 of those have broken down. And they coined this from City FM or citynewsroom.com. And that's so
the finance also says we need 1,000. We need 1,000.
So we have 520,000 people sharing one ambulance, and even that one is skewed because there are millions of others who don't have access at all in some parts of our country. So that's well, we have the Upper East region having the least of these ambulances. 3 of them working apparently. Well,
You know, every time government goes into a contract or starts a project with a donor, part of the cost items for that project is a vehicle. So the donor is going to provide you with some 4x4 for monitoring. Doesn't matter whether the office or the institution that is, the government institution that is running this has vehicles already. Doesn't matter whether there's always a cost item.
I think they usually call it projects vehicles or something like that.
And when the project is over, what happens to these vehicles? So you see,
reverted to the ministry.
We have a thirst to provide ourselves with the things that will benefit individuals over the general population. You know, that one person, that one official who will sit in the vehicle, I don't know who here, but the thousands of people who will be taken to hospital on a bicycle. No one is thinking about them.
Do you know that the government vehicles we have, it's a policy of government not to have insurance? So all those GV and the big government of Ghana registered vehicles,
none of them are
so
insured.
if you die in any of it, please,
you and your God,
you better go and sit in your insured vehicle. You'll be fine.
All right, Business and Financial Times. 1 billion Ghana City Housing Fund to provide CD mortgages. This is very important. Special report on real estate also in the Business and Financial Times. Adum Savings and Loans empowers market women in Kaswa. New national airline, Turkish Airlines joins the race. Ghana still wants to have a national airline. I'm still to be convinced of why. But Turkish Airlines says, you know what? We'll throw our hat in the ring. There are other international airlines that have offered to partner Ghana on this.
Well, we can have a private airline. Branded, you can have the Ghana colors. There can be something.
Yeah.
What's
the idea? What's the benefit?
I don't know. You want a national carrier. At least it's better.
Why do we want
Isn't that better than we own it wholly? Knowing
I don't even know
possibly,
why there must be one. I mean, are we unable to travel with these existing
I think
airlines?
it's more of national pride.
I don't know how much national pride I got from Ghana Airways. Their landing was very great. But I learned later that the way the Ghana Airways pilots landed so smoothly is actually wrong. As usual. Anyway, don't exit IMF completely. That's Seth Tekwe saying that we need to go for that sort of policy reinforcement module of the IMF to stay within our spending limits rather than just exit the whole thing completely. And he said that at an event, city business event, I believe. All right, so let me tell you just quickly about the housing fund to provide CD mortgages, and I won't talk much. We have a 1.7 million unit housing deficit. That's how many homes we need to adequately house the people of Ghana.
That reminds me, we've launched the Habitat Fair. So we'll have the opportunity to explore and see what's available in the market and how we can all own homes. Ultimately, that's the dream for all of us. And the multi-TV Habitat Fair makes it possible.
Yeah.
At least if you're building, if you're building your own home and you've gotten somewhere, we will tell you what is possible. There are people who do deals, and these fairs also cut down prices. So good deals for you with this year's Habitat Fair.
Indeed. Now, the key thing, important thing about this 1 billion Ghana City Housing Fund, which will be done with government and GHL Bank, Stanbic Bank, GCB Bank, Republic Bank, and NIB. The great thing about
1 billion Ghana City.
Yes, it's a CD mortgage. Okay, now that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Because with a dollar
I think
mortgage,
I'll take a CD mortgage every day.
with a dollar mortgage, every month you are spending more cedis. You are paying more cedis onto the same mortgage.
True.
You know, but once it's done in cedis, it's supposed to be a lot better.
Okay.
And they're pegging it to pensions as well, which is very innovative.
All right, let's quickly run through. Let's go to myjoyonline.com. We'll bring you sports right after this. On myjoyonline.com, Valerie Sawyer writes, "The cry of the oppressed." Okay, I haven't seen it. I've seen it for the first time, so I'll read it right after the headlines.
Let me guess, it's about Charlotte Osei.
Thailand cave rescue. Boys could be in cave for months. This is the inspirational story. I mean, it is inspiring. We shared a bit of it with you. When we go to the BBC, we'll see more pictures of this. Birthday girl 3 dies after being stabbed at her party.
Oh my gosh.
God. A 3-year-old girl has died of her injuries on Monday after a knife attack at her birthday party left 9 injured. Rona, where's this? This is okay. In the US.
Yeah. That's sad.
Sad, yeah.
US.
Belgium 3, Japan 2, 5 things we learned. Okay, so it will be good to read this on myjoyonline.com. But Abigail will be here to share it if you missed the goals for one reason or the other. Prempeh College cuts a size as the West Africa Senior High School stops defending champions. It was incredible atmosphere yesterday at the National Science Maths Quiz. I think Prempeh, from all the analysis, the posturing and everything, I mean, they came to defend. It was almost like a done deal for them if you looked at the atmosphere. But then West Africa said, for the where.
Yeah, they should have asked Japan. That
for
posture is
the
always
where.
not good.
For the where. I loved it. I loved it. Okay, let's move on real quick. It's time to set term limits for electoral commissioners, according to Kwesi Jonah. He was on Ghana Connect on Friday on Joy FM.
think so.
Review stance on D788 Great Government Direct NTCE. We've shared a lot more on this with you. At this Adel College crown Cape Coast Kings as Infantipim National shed tears. And I thought it was a bit unfair, like to have these 3 schools from one town.
Why?
One region.
It was
I don't know. It should have been. It should have been.
Then they went, you know.
Sometimes 2 European countries play each other in the World Cup. It's just how it's drawn, isn't it?
I just thought, oh. I mean, I wanted at this adult to win, but there's another part of me that wanted Infantipim to go through.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
I was strongly behind that decider.
Against.
Yes. I mean, Infantipim's,
So Ghanaian, also my job, like Ghanaian community in Canada enraged by killing of 31-year-old woman. So you might want to log on to myjournline.com and understand the story better. Yeah. All right, let's finish off with the BBC just before we cross over and get some sport from Abigail Sena Sosu, who's on standby right now. Okay, so anger at Uganda's tax on social media. This story has been in the news, but now it's actually working. So you can read the story on the BBC. Sophia the robot meets Ethiopian Prime Minister. Dead woman found alive in mock fridge. The woman, who is now recovering in hospital, had been declared dead following a road accident. Senegal asked FIFA to revise fair play ruling. DRC explores drilling for oil in parks. I think we can end here. We'll leave the rest for you to explore. And then we'll cross over. Let's say hello to Abigail. Good morning.
Good morning, Mama B.
Are you like an England fan?
No.
Okay, cool.
I'm all for Belgium.
Ah, yeah, that's
So
it.
I'm still in the running towards lifting
Why
the World
though?
Cup with Romelu Lukaku, who is a Manchester United player.
Yeah, and he's like the preacher. He's like the pastor.
You know,
After every game, he gathers all of them and says, "Let's pray, guys."
they understand where they are coming from, and so they just want to win it. They have been tagged as the golden generation, and so if you go through the Euros,
But they're not
you come
winning. Who
to
told
the
you they'll
World
win?
Cup.
Brazil is winning.
I'm
Brazil.
seeing a Brazil-Belgium final.
Brazil.
Am I the only England fan in this?
No, I love England. If Brazil doesn't win, then England.
I
should
like
win.
the England team. I don't like the English
England
media.
country.
Okay.
No, not the country. I love the country. The media.
And
I
you're
think they talk too
satisfied with how
much.
they have played so far. For
They
me,
are,
I'm
they
not.
are excited.
No.
That's
I think
what they
I
are.
saw a
You
headline.
see that youthful exuberance all over the place. They're just overwhelmed to be at the World Cup. I don't think they want to win the World Cup.
But I
They
think that this is the most open World Cup for any of the teams
Yes.
who are up in the running to fancy
Extremely
their
open.
chances.
Extremely open.
Yeah.
I think
All
that
the
yesterday Belgium
competition is
quickly rewrote the history. After 1970, no one has come 2 goals down to win at that stage, and so
Yeah.
they are just in the running to be in the final. I just can't wait to see them. It's interesting.
I hope you're talking tennis as
About
well.
romance.
Everybody's been talking about football, forgotten that Wimbledon started yesterday as well.
I mean, you know, it's a moment for World Cup, and
Yeah.
so everything can please wait for the next 13
Even
days.
Andy Murray at a
Hold
press
the
briefing was
strawberries,
asking
yeah.
a scoreline instead of talking
see,
about.
Football and golf, everybody. It's a sport that will just make you want to
Yeah.
watch, listen.
But please show
and
me
know
some
what is
Serena this
happening.
morning, I beg.
Maybe we'll do that later in our bulletins because there are some big games coming up.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with